camera light blinked red, and my uncle's voice cut through the empty auditorium like a knife. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, laughing, panning his phone slowly across the rows of vacant chairs. "A graduation with no family." His chuckle echoed louder than the applause I should have been hearing. I stood there in my cap and gown, clutching my diploma folder with hands that suddenly felt numb. The seats reserved for my parents, my siblings, my grandparents, every single one of them, were empty. Not late, not stuck in traffic. Just empty. My uncle zoomed in on my face, close enough that I could see my own reflection in his phone screen. "Smile," he mocked. "This is one for the memories." In that moment, something inside me cracked, quietly, deeply, and I knew my life would never be the same again. My name is Ethan. For as long as I can remember, I was the extra in my own family. Not the favorite. Not the disappointment either. Just there, existing quietly in the background while everyone else took center stage. My parents, Mark and Elaine, were practical people. Affection wasn't their language, expectations were. My younger sister, Natalie, fit perfectly into their vision of success. She was outgoing, confident, effortlessly impressive. Teachers adored her. Relatives praised her. Even strangers seemed drawn to her energy. Me? I was the kid who stayed up late studying, the one who worked part-time while juggling classes, the one who didn't ask for much because I learned early that asking didn't always lead to answers. Graduation wasn't just a ceremony for me, it was proof. Proof that every night of exhaustion, every sacrifice, every moment of self-doubt had meant something. I didn't want a party or gifts. I just wanted them there, sitting in the audience, watching me cross the stage. That was the stake. Not applause, not money, just presence. And my uncle, Richard, my mom's older brother, had always been the family's loudest voice. The kind of man who thought cruelty was humor and embarrassment was entertainment. He filmed everything, arguments, failures, awkward moments. He called it keeping it real. I called it humiliation. The signs had been there weeks before graduation. When I told my parents the date, my mom hesitated. "We'll see," she said, like I'd asked about a random dinner. Not the biggest milestone of my life. My dad barely looked up from his phone. "You know your sister has exams around that time," he said. "We can't stretch ourselves thin." "Stretch yourselves thin." I reminded them gently that this wasn't a repeat event, that there wouldn't be another chance. My mom sighed, already irritated. "Ethan, don't make this dramatic." But everything became dramatic the closer the day came. Group chats went silent. Calls went unanswered. When I finally reached my mom 2 days before the ceremony, she sounded distracted. "Richard's coming with us," she said suddenly. "With you? Where?" I asked. "To Natalie's academic conference," she replied, as if it were obvious. "It's important networking." My heart sank. "So you're not coming?" A pause, too long. "You'll understand someday," she said. The night before graduation, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a message, anything, even a late apology. Nothing came. The morning of the ceremony, I sat alone in my dorm room, pinning my gown in the mirror. Around me, my classmates laughed with their families, taking photos, hugging, crying happy tears. I told myself it was fine. I told myself I was used to this. But when I walked into that auditorium and saw the empty seats with my name card, taped to the front row, something inside me tightened. And then my uncle showed up, late, loud, smirking. He didn't sit with the other families. He stood in the aisle, phone already out, recording. Well, he said, glancing around. "Guess nobody made it." I didn't answer. When my name was called, I walked across the stage to polite applause from strangers. I shook the dean's hand, smiled for the camera that wasn't mine, and looked out one last time, just in case. Still empty. That's when Richard started narrating. "Look at this," my uncle said into his phone, sweeping the camera across the chairs again. Graduation day, and not a soul from his family shows up. People turned to look. I felt heat rush to my face. He zoomed in closer. "Hey, Ethan, say something for the camera." "How does it feel?" Something snapped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just decisively. I took a step toward him. The auditorium seemed to hold its breath. I looked straight into his lens, not angry, not crying, just calm in a way I'd never felt before. And then I spoke. I looked straight into my Uncle Richard's phone, not past it, not away from it, directly into the lens he loved so much. My voice didn't shake when I spoke. "Make sure you don't cut this part out," I said calmly. His smile faltered for half a second, but he didn't stop recording. "You're right," I continued, loud enough for the nearest rows to hear. "My family isn't here today, not because they couldn't come, but because they chose not to." A few heads turned, whispers started. Richard chuckled nervously. "Oh, come on, kid. Don't get all emotional." I raised my hand. "For 22 years, I said, I've stayed quiet. I've swallowed jokes. I've accepted being invisible. Today was supposed to be the one day that was mine. My chest tightened, but I didn't stop. And you thought this, I gestured to the empty seats, was funny. The room went dead silent. Richard shifted his weight. Hey, I was just... No, I said, cutting him off. You were being exactly who you've always been. For the first time in my life, I didn't care who heard me. I reached up, took off my graduation cap, and held it in my hands. You can keep your video, I said, but you're not getting another second of me. I turned my back on the camera, and I walked out of the auditorium. I didn't know where I was going at first. My feet just carried me, past the cheering crowd, past families taking photos, past congratulations that weren't meant for me. I ended up sitting on the steps outside the building, diploma folder resting on my knees. That's when my phone started vibrating. Missed call, another, then a text. Mom, why are people calling me asking why you walked out? I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was finally absurd enough to break. Something loose inside me. Another text came through. Dad, Richard says you embarrassed him. Embarrassed him. I stared at the screen for a long time before typing back. Me, you weren't there. You don't get to decide who was embarrassed. The replies stopped. For the first time ever, the silence felt peaceful. That night, Richard's video went up online. He titled it something stupid. Awkward graduation moment, probably expecting laughs. But something unexpected happened. People didn't laugh. They listened. Comments poured in. Why was he alone? That uncle is cruel. Proud of this graduate for standing up for himself. The clip spread faster than anyone anticipated. By the next morning, my inbox was full. Strangers, classmates, even faculty members. One message stood out. Dean Roberts, Ethan, I'd like to speak with you. Please come by my office. I walked in expecting a lecture. Instead, he stood up and shook my hand. I saw the video, he said, and I'm sorry. He told me the university had decided to feature my story in their alumni spotlight. Not for drama, but for resilience. Opportunities followed. Networking leads. Interview requests. A scholarship extension I didn't even know existed. Meanwhile, at home, things were unraveling. My parents finally watched the full video. Not just the clip Richard wanted them to see, but all of it. The comments. The reactions. The truth they couldn't ignore anymore. My mom called me that night. Her voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. We didn't realize, she said. I didn't answer right away. Realize what? I asked. That you felt so alone. I closed my eyes. I didn't feel alone, I corrected gently. I was alone. She cried. My dad didn't call for another week. When he finally did, he said only one sentence. I should have been there. He was right. But apologies don't rewind time. They just mark where something ended. Graduation was supposed to be about a degree. Instead, it became about dignity. That empty ceremony, the one my uncle mocked, ended up being the moment. I stopped begging for a seat at tables that never made room for me. I learned something powerful that day. Presence matters more than promises. Respect matters more than blood. And sometimes the loudest statement you can make is walking away. My family didn't disappear from my life entirely, but the rules changed. I stopped shrinking, stopped apologizing for existing, stopped accepting crumbs where I deserved wholeness. Today my diploma hangs on my wall, not as a reminder of who wasn't there, but of who I became when no one showed up. And if you've ever felt invisible at your biggest moment, remember this. Your worth doesn't depend on who's watching. It depends on whether you finally stand up for yourself. So tell me, what was the moment that changed everything for you?